It is. I only stole one. I thought I only had one. Not here. I stole one. Yeah, that's the one.
How you doing, sir? Yeah, how's life? Selling a lot of cars still?
Did I get your questions answered at all? Or did you see your email?
You know, set it up too. Yeah.
And yes.
Wow, well. Yeah. I didn't know you were that big.
We did, but I had the burger.
You should have what kind of town?
I forgot it was too new. I know it's not. It's back. And I-
Well, I'm happy he's still in.
I asked.
That work on your wife's birthday, no, that's no good.
We had this weekend, we did, yeah, for her, yeah. Deb had one this weekend too, huh?
Yes, we did. We got to go do her, Jimmy D's restaurant in Omaha that she just, we counted on. Dennis Revitz died about 5 years ago, and then they had this, clam wing weenie and white wine sausages, yeah, now. She's gotta go at least 2 or 3 times a year for beds.
Good. Everybody has something special for their birthday, right? All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Go ahead and open up public comment. Views expressed by individuals during public comment do not necessarily reflect the views of the city of Fremont, have not been verified for accuracy by the city. As a reminder, city council and staff are not permitted to respond to comments or questions during the public comment period in accordance with Fremont Municipal Code Section 2-103. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person, shall not include contain topics included on this evening's agenda. So if you are here and wish to speak, there are, this is a sign-up sheet up here at the front. There's also comment cards in the back as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Larry Marvin.
Good evening. My name is Larry Marvin.
1945 Morningside Road, apartment 124, Fremont, Nebraska. And I have a 2-point win-win solution for you. I have 2-point solution for an injustice problem, which this city does not formally acknowledge, other than you are working on it. My first point of the win-win is for the city council to immediately suspend our city council attorney immediately, without pay and without benefits, until he convinces this city council to install a grab bar in this second floor men's restroom, and said grab bar has to be safely installed. My part 2 of the win-win solution is to immediately suspend Jeff Shanahan immediately, without pay and without benefits, until the city of Fremont has updated all 8 restrooms in this building to ADA standards, and all this work has been completed. Thank you.
Brian Villock.
Hello, Brian Billwalk, 2125 North Broad. Want to thank you guys, City Council. You're doing a great job, elected officials. My reason for coming just for a minute today, I think it's important. I think the open mic for 30 minutes, that's less than 1 minute a day, is good for the city. It's transparent. It's honest. I don't think it's broken remotely. We've learned so much in the last year that I think it's really a good thing. It's allowed people to come and speak on a variety of things. And I think, I'm not here to talk about the library. I think it spoke for itself. And then I think people had said, well, go to talk to the library. And I think when people came to the library meeting, the attorney shut off comments. So there was really nowhere else to go but to our city council. So I just think it's open. There's people that elderly can't make it to the meeting. And I think it's important for that to be. And I don't think anyone should be embarrassed or have anything to hide. It's government, it's transparent. And as just, especially on a bigger level of government, I think people have lost trust. I think it's good to have the open microphone. So I don't think it's broken whatsoever. I think it's great. And with the library money shortfall, it's probably a good thing to have this year. So I think everyone's kind of waiting to see how that turns out. So I'm just here to thank you guys for doing your jobs, and the mayor and the elected officials are doing great. But I think, when they took it off YouTube, I don't think anyone of the elected people did that. It's a bureaucrat, but I didn't, I think it's great. So I just say good job, and thank you for allowing people, the citizens of our city, to have a chance to speak. Just that simple. Thank you.
Brad Yerger, 2318 East Fifth Street. Wanted to take a couple minutes of your time this evening to speak about open public comment. I know that some of you weren't on council when this was originally instituted. Some have been here a while, and so you know how this was intended to work. Having served on council before, I can provide some background to those that are newer to this as to why this was important for the city of Fremont. Transparency in government was something a lot of people ran on, myself included. How do you be transparent with the government in government? You allow the public to have a say in what you're doing. You need to listen to what they have to say and take input. It doesn't require dialogue. It wasn't set up that way for there to be dialogue at that meeting. And I know that's caused some consternation from time to time. But there are plenty of examples where this worked properly. And the way it was supposed to work is that people would come and speak to council, bring their issues. The departments, the department heads, city administration, and the council were then to take those issues up and get back to the folks that had brought issues to the council. That was the communication dialogue channel that was supposed to work. The latter part of that never really worked. That is getting back to the people, notifying them that we were working the issues or that they couldn't be worked because there were reasons why the city couldn't address them. That's what was supposed to have happened. But there were a myriad of opportunities when the public has come to speak to this council where things were accomplished. And I can, just off the top of my head, recall some. The people from Central Park came repeatedly to city council to make the flooding issues awareness to the council with regards to the drainage at Tech Park. The Hasselbrooks came along with Albee Towing because of the flooding issues down on South Claremore. Speed limit signs were modified with regards to traffic on First Street. Speed limit signs were modified on Morningside because of public input on speed on Morningside. Sidewalks were placed. One of the ones that comes to mind most readily is one that the mayor even mentioned with regards to his State of the City address. It had to do with public transportation. That started with a member of the public from Ward 3 coming to this council and pleading for something to happen because their transportation was being lost. Councilman Ellis picked up that. The rest of council picked up on that. The grant and parks and recreational people picked up on that. And as a result, the city now has a transportation plan for those folks that wouldn't have otherwise come. It was initiated at open public comment. That's the importance of these kinds of meetings. And even though there have been personal attacks, and I've had them, I know that Councilman Jensen had them, Susan Jacobus had them, Mark Bechtel had them, and you didn't get a chance to respond. And that's unfortunate. But as elected officials, there is some heat that comes with the job. So I encourage you to think about those things and the importance of having transparency and opportunities for the public to address you and bring issues forth for your consideration, because this is the venue. They don't get to put things on your agenda. You have to do it for them. So this is a way for them to communicate. I know they can do it one-on-one, but this is an ideal time for the rest of the city to hear those issues as well. So I hope you think seriously about whether open public comment serves the public. Thank you.
Again, we are in open public comment until 7 o'clock. So those that are just entered, if you wish to speak on any item that's not on the agenda, you may do so. Just come up to the front and sign in, or there's also comment cards in the back. There you go. Good, thank you.
So where are we at on the months this year? Maybe.
Getting closer. Yeah. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, President Mark. I walked in here to watch the festivities this evening where you're going to be doing some extra special stuff that interests our family. And so I'm walking in the room and I see this group of wonderful looking humans up here. And I'm thinking, has the jury reached a verdict? I say hang him. Now, see, that's supposed to be funny. But somehow or other, it didn't come off that way. How you doing, Sally? What? Oh, is that in the code now too? Tad, how you doing? Saturday, you folks were invited to the library for a retreat or something. What was that all about? I just found out about it. Sure would have liked to have been there with you. Did you do some official business for the city or were you just touring? Oh, you're not allowed to talk. All right, I'll pretend I'm the ventriloquist. I'll throw my voice to the dummy. We're not supposed to talk. Okay. There sits Mayor Spellerberg, as proud as punch, expecting his fourth child. After 3 beautiful girls, he's expecting with his wife a baby boy. Have you got a name for him? Just nod. Nevertheless, I'll take this moment before the council starts their business to again, the last time I was here, I basically showed appreciation for the job you folks do. I don't know if you get the feeling, as I do, that what you do is so very important and sometimes not totally well received by us up on Main Street, who've been there now 51 years in that property. We do think and believe in the council doing the job correctly always. No matter how it comes out, at the end of the day, if you're around as long as we are, my wife and I, Betty, 63 years of marriage, you can look back where the importance of a council shows. Oh, yeah, that wasn't what we thought it was going to be, but it turned out better, didn't it? I can name a few things, but I won't because some of them are controversial. Nevertheless, I'm very proud to stand here this evening and look across this dais, 4 and 2. You got 10 human beings right in front of me that are challenged is the best word, I think, to see to it that the populace of Fremont, Nebraska, 68025, is well served. And in our estimation, it's been done over and over and over. I can give you 3 or 4 thoughts on the top of my head, and I'll just start with the airport. It's too bad that has to be shut down now for several months, considering the commerce that brings in and the companies that are satisfied. I know of one, Taylor and Martin, who will be challenged as to how they're going to find the way to move their planes around and their people around, but they'll do it. But it's something that, here's the best part of that. It's something that has to be done, and it's being done. So often communities would let that go, as they say, kick the can down the road, and it just wouldn't happen until it's too late. But thank you to the council, all of you in front of me, for doing the job that you are here to do. And so you know, Betty and I and our family, Vic and his wife Nancy, and all of the other parts of our family, which have now gotten down to great grandchildren that we have in this town. Betty and I, we have children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren in this town. You imagine that? That's pretty significant as far as we're concerned. So nevertheless, I'll leave you with this thought. Don't take any wooden nickels. Thank you.
Go ahead and sign in. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, members of the city council. My name's Scott Thomas. I live at 2403 Estes Lane in the first ward, Mr. Von Baron's district. And, all right, so we had an unexpected snowfall just recently. And, our streets didn't get plowed for 3 days, 2 days for sure. I think it might've been 2.5. And I'm waiting on mail and I can't get my mail. And I get this notice from the post office and it's a diagram that says they can't get to my mailbox because the street is full of snow. Now, I'm responsible for shoveling my driveway. I'm responsible for shoveling my sidewalk, but I can't even back out of my driveway if there's nothing to drive on because the snow hasn't been shoveled by the city. So my question would be, does the city have a plan for that? Or is it like every time that the snow comes, I'm gonna have to drive downtown to get my mail? That's a question I got. But I'm not sure what the process is for city council meetings because I don't usually attend these, so.
We're
can
not
you
able,
ask
we're not able to
questions?
answer.
Not able to answer
but
questions.
We will follow up afterwards. So.
Okay, look into it. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, time is 7 o'clock. That closes public comment. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll go ahead and open up the regular city council meeting. Again, the time is 7 o'clock. The Opens Meeting Act is posted on the rear wall next to the agendas. So this time we'll have roll call.
Please cast your vote for roll call. Eight council members are present, Mayor.
Okay. Again, moving on to mayor's comments. Thank you all for being here this evening. I would like to recognize our January 2024 service awards. First, I would like to recognize Anthony Gartner with 15 years of service. Anthony has been a police officer for the city since 2009. Next, John Dowdy, 15 years of service. John has been with the Water and Sewer Service Worker, one with the DU since 2009. And then here today with us, we have John Mullen, 5 years of service. John has been a library assistant one with the city since 2009. John, would you please stand and be recognized? And also here with us today, we have Nick Morris, 20 years of service. Nick started with the city as a firefighter EMT in 2004. Then he got promoted to fire lieutenant in 2020. Finally, he was most recently promoted to a fire captain in 2022. Nick, would you please stand? 20 years of service. Let's recognize Nick Morris. Congratulations to all of our service awards. Every month I get to do that. It's just a humbling honor to recognize the longevity, and the quality of the employees that we have here in the city of Fremont. And so no matter if it's, 1 year to 40, which we've had a lot, you're appreciated and valued, and we just thank you for the dedication that you bring to our constituents here in Fremont. So thank you. It's really an honor for me to be a part of that. Okay, that'll conclude our comments. We'll go ahead and move on to item 1 on the agenda, which is a motion to adopt the current agenda for the January 30th, 2024 regular meeting. Councilman Sukram,
I'll make that motion.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 2 is a motion authorizing the mayor and staff to sign the settlement agreement and general release as negotiated with Rachel Wesley. Is there any staff report on this item?
I can handle it. Travis Jacott, City Attorney. You have before you a settlement agreement with Rachel Wesley. It was negotiated via mediation. If we have any questions or discussion on this item, it'll have to be discussed in executive session. Otherwise, we ask that the agreement be approved.
Any comments from council? If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the motion to authorize to sign the settlement agreement.
Councilman Sukram,
I'll second that.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to appointments. Item 3 is a motion to appoint Vic Rader to the Airport Advisory Board. So it is my honor tonight to present Vic Rader to the Airport Advisory Board. Vic included a letter that's attached. He's been in Fremont, or has been a part of Taylor and Martin for 18 years. Been a longtime resident of Fremont. Will add a lot of value to the airport board with his background and skill set, and I'm happy he's willing to serve on the board. So I would take any questions from the council. If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Horner,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the appointment of Vic Rader.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second the motion.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to item 4 is a motion to appoint Christina Meyer to the Citizens Advisory Review Committee. This is also a new appointment to the Citizens Advisory Review Committee. With Christina Meyer, she serves as the president of the Fremont Rotary Club currently, also as a small business owner. I've been involved with the Fremont Area Chamber, so I'm happy to have Christina be willing to serve on the Citizens Advisory Review Committee. Take any comments or questions from the council. If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Sukram,
I'll make the motion to appoint Christina Meyer to the Citizens Advisory Review Committee.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second.
cast your votes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to item 5 is a motion to appoint Sean Custard to the local option review team. Also pleased tonight to present Sean Custard to the new member of the local option review team. Sean is currently Vice President of Professional and Ancillary Services at Fremont Methodist Health. He's also the president of Fremont Area United Way and a member of the Fremont Chamber of Commerce Board. So pleased that Sean is willing to serve on this board. I take any questions or comments from the council. If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Von Baron,
Would move to appoint Sean Custer to the local option review team.
Councilman Jensen,
I'll second that.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 6 is a motion to reappoint Daniel Moran and appoint Anna O'Reilly to the Park and Recreation Board. This item tonight, we had a request from Councilman Horner to split the votes on this, and so he will abstain on Miss O'Reilly. So we'll go ahead, and if there's any questions on the reappointment of Daniel Moran. If there's not, I would take a motion to reappoint Daniel Moran to the Parks and Recreation Board. Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the motion to reappoint Daniel Moran to the Parks and Rec Board.
Councilwoman Lathrop,
Second.
okay, cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Then we have the new appointment of Anna O'Reilly to the Park and Recreation Board. Anna currently works for Midland. She's been involved with the chamber and is excited to be able to give back to the community in our Parks and Rec Board. So take any questions. If not, I'd take a motion. Councilman Horner.
Just for the record, I just want to, for transparency's sake, I'm abstaining from this vote because Anna's my daughter.
Councilwoman Ganem,
I move the appointment of Anna O'Reilly to the Park and Recreation Board.
Councilman Sukram,
I will second that.
cast your votes.
Councilmember Sukram, it didn't record your vote. Thank you. Motion carries 7-0 with 1 abstention, Mayor.
Moving on to item 7 is a resolution 2024-028 approving and confirming the appointment of the city treasurer as Jennifer Knapp. Pleased tonight to be appointing Jennifer Knapp as our city treasurer. Just a little bit of background. Jennifer was hired as our finance director almost a couple months ago already. So Jody Sanders was our interim city treasurer. So at this time, I feel like it is appropriate to appoint Jennifer Knapp as our finance director as the city treasurer. So I would take any questions. If not, I would take a motion. Councilman Sukram,
I'll make a motion on resolution 2024-028 approving confirmation and the appointment of city treasurer as Jennifer Knapp.
Councilman Vaughn,
I will second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Just want to thank all of the appointees that were here tonight and showing your presence and also your willingness to serve and volunteer on these important boards in the city. Really appreciate your willingness to serve. So thank you. We'll move on to public hearings. Item 8, resolution 2024-018, recommending approval of Class Z liquor license application for Patriarch Distillers LLC, doing business as Patriarch Distillers at 425 East Washington Street.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item was preceded by a public notice of the hearing on January 24th in the Fremont Tribune. There's reports from the police department and our planning and zoning department recommending approval. This is a unique new type of liquor license for us here. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I think the applicant is also here this evening. So.
Councilman Horner.
If there are no questions, I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-018, recommending approval of the Class Z liquor license application for Patriarch Distillers LLC.
Before I get to that, this is a public hearing. We have to have a public hearing first. So Councilwoman Ganem.
I'll wait just a
Okay.
second.
Okay. Are there any, I'll open up the public hearing on this item. Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. So I'll now address Councilman Horner's motion to approve. Is there a second? Councilwoman Ganem.
Second.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to the consent agenda, all items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests. in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda by council or staff? Councilman Von Baron?
11 and 18, please.
Item number 13, we want to continue that to the next council meeting.
Okay. Any items from the public to be removed? Okay, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Items 9 through 9, 10. You said 12, I'm sorry. 13 is what we need to take. Okay, 9, 10, 12, 14 through 17, 19 through 21. Councilman Vaughn.
Motion to approve as amended and or continued.
Yeah, I was planning to address the continuation on that item when we got to it. Yeah. This is to approve the consent agenda as I stated. Okay. Councilman Sukram.
I'll second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 11 is to receive the December 2023 animal reports.
Good evening to Mr. Mayor, members of council, Jody Sanders, City Administrator. We've been working with Forever Homes and in particular Martha Bang on the reconciliation process so that we can get you corrected reports. One point that Martha was able to share with us is that at December 31st, 2013 or 2023 rather, she actually did take a physical count of every animal in their custody. And so she assures us that the numbers that are there as of the end of December in terms of the count of animals under their care and control is absolutely correct. They're having trouble with the date of some of their reporting. With the computer, sometimes trash in is trash out, and they're still working on that process. But she wanted to assure council that she took inventory on the last day of the month. I'll take any questions.
Councilman Von Baron.
No, I'm just going to make a comment. Number one, it's very obvious they've been putting a lot of work into this, and that's appreciated. The other one, I just came across an incidental question, and we don't have to address it here if you don't know the answer right offhand, but just looking at the report, we've got probably a dozen or more animals that have been in their custody, it appears, for something on the area of 2 years. A couple of animals for 3 years. And I was just trying to understand how that works. We don't need to go into it now. If you don't have a ready answer, I can talk to Martha. I just came across it this afternoon, so I'd just like to have a better understanding.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to follow up with Martha and then share what I find out with the council and then include that in our staff report. My understanding is she had hoped to have the reconciliations complete by tomorrow.
That's fine. No, it's obvious that they've put a lot of effort into it, and that's appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Councilman Jensen.
I just speak to that, Paul. My daughter worked there for a long time. I kind of understand what goes on in some of the long-term ones. If you want to have a conversation with me about it sometime, I'm certainly open to that.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody here to speak on this item? Okay. I'd take a motion from council or any other discussion. Councilman Vaughn.
Motion to receive.
Councilman Jensen.
Second.
Cast your votes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to item 13, this is a staff motion to continue this to the next meeting. So I would take that motion. Councilman Jensen,
Motion to continue.
Councilman Sukram,
Second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 18 is resolution 2024-022 to approve an amendment to the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement, Platte Township, Fremont West Flood Reduction Improvements.
Good evening, Justin Zetterman, Director of Public Works. This item is changing the agreement that was reached previous with council for the Platte Township project. We've talked a lot about the Elkhorn Township project on the southeast. This is the southwest side of Fremont. The original agreement was set up where phase one of the project was very well defined. This is what we're going to do, but it was going to define what was phase two would be. And so now we just need to update the language to talk about what phase two is, which they have looked at many alternatives and things we can do, but what we decided to focus on was policy and making sure that our ordinances, our flood control policies, everything that we need to properly manage the floodplain is in place. It will also discuss some structural methods, levee changes, things like that we might do in the future. But the focus of phase two will be on non-structural options to improve flood risk reduction in that area. There's no change in cost. The consultant's able to do this for the same fee that they originally set. So pretty much just updating the language to define what the next phase of the project is.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Von Baron?
My only question was how, I assume the UIB board approved this afternoon?
Yes.
They did. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Councilman Von Baron?
With that, I'd move to approve resolution 2024-022.
Councilman Horner?
I'll second that motion.
Cast your votes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
All right, moving on to item 22, resolution 2024-014, awarding the design contract for the City of Fremont Police Station and Dispatch Center to Police Facilities Design Group.
All right, Justin Zetterman, Director of Public Works. So the item before you is our design contract for the police station. We have selected Police Facilities Design Group out of Kansas City, Missouri. They previously worked with the city on the Joint Law Enforcement Center and have done some space planning with us on this new facility. This was a very difficult decision. We had two clear front runners that we interviewed after going through their proposals, and met with them, asked them questions, and in the end, the group of us, I think, felt, one, there was some familiarity. We'd worked with Police Facilities Design Group. We knew them. People were comfortable with what we'd done. They are a firm that specializes and only designs police stations, dispatch centers, and those types of facilities. So they're certainly the leaders in the industry. The other firm was relying on resources from two different firms, and it felt like maybe the team was going to get big, and who are we directing our questions to and things like that, where this group is very well defined. It's a small group. We know who we're working with, and we know who to go to when we have questions. And in the end, that was just who people felt most comfortable with. And happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Sukram?
Just a quick question. Have all this whole property all been secured now to move forward?
I am not involved in any of those acquisitions, so I can't speak to that.
Jody Sanders, City Administrator. So we have been as we've discussed at the open house for the North Downtown area. We are in conversations with the party that owns the block that we're referring to. RVR Bank is the owner of that block. They're willing to negotiate with us in terms of how much ground we need. And so the reason why we're going with the design contract first is so that as they're starting and determining what size our footprint needs to be, we can determine how much of that block we'll need to accomplish this. We know that it won't be the full block, of course, but because they've been willing to negotiate and work with us on that, we're hoping to get the design put together so that we get adequate space.
Okay, I'm only asked that because I had several questions posed to me and I really couldn't answer.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Any other questions? I would just like to say this is, to get to this point where we are today, this has been, gosh, over a year of discussions and talks, trying to find a location that we as a city could be able to move forward with and get behind. And, I appreciate all the discussions with RVR Bank and their willingness to work with the city and be a part of this with the city. And, I know that when we came out and announced the partnership, both parties intend to work together and to be partners throughout this process. And, we as a city, the next step is have to get to a footprint. We have to understand what that is, and that's what we have to find. We have to get nailed down, and without a designer, we can't do that. So I know we have a member of RVR Bank here. I mean, I would like to, if they would be willing to come up and just explain, the conversations that we have and the willingness that we all as a group intend to move forward. I think that would be good. So.
Good evening, council. Chuck Johansson, 815 North Howard Street. I am the CEO of RVR Bank. And as Mayor has said, and as Jody has said, we have been working in partnership for a considerable amount of time to determine what this may look like. We're excited that the city has got to hopefully a design phase so that we can work to develop what that lot split may look like. We too are working through a design phase, which is not what excites me personally, but for the bank, we're very excited to make this investment downtown. And we think both projects can be a catalyst and move the downtown area forward. It's a large investment on both sides, and we're just excited to be part of it.
Thank you. Okay, now have comments from the public.
Larry Marvin, 1945 Morningside Road. I just have a question. We have the large parking lot to the north of the present one. So we would need a big chunk of this land. And I've never seen how much land we're going to get, but how much parking are we going to have? Or are we going to make the policeman walk a block from the other parking lot?
Richard Rader, Fremont, Nebraska, 1039 North Main. My comment is very simple. I'm so proud that RVR, prior to that was First State Bank, Chuck Johansson and his team, our police officers, our police department are even considering putting this property, this conglomerate of importance in the downtown Fremont, Nebraska. I know that our fire department is seriously wanting, because I had face-to-face conversations with our chief, wanting to move their fire station out of the downtown, which I still consider 16th Street, part of the location. I will refer back to the opening now of our library. Who was it that decided that rather than to move that property anywhere else, why not just expand on where we were? That was perfect. Our library, our banks, our fire department should be in the center part of our town. And to have the police department right downtown Fremont, Nebraska, that will regenerize or extra generate. I'm slurring because I've got a little situation over here. And I'm just standing here to say I'm proud of the people who are thinking positive about keeping these properties where they are and making the land that around them work. Parking lot or no parking lot, they'll make it work. It's just so great. I'm just so grateful to see the library established and reestablish where it's at, the police department to establish and reestablish more or less where they're at. I would hope that possibly when the time comes for us to discuss seriously where any fire station, main fire station would be, it would stay close to the downtown. I had a very nice visit with a fireman who retired here recently, and he suggested in the firemen's union, I understand 10 years ago, already supported the idea of expanding, but keeping the downtown location on 16th Street, more of a satellite, and putting a larger unit somewhere out east. And with discussing with the fire chief, I find out that the majority of our calls, their calls, are more or less like to the high-rise areas. I was surprised, and out west to more or less the Washington Heights areas. So it's not that we have extreme need way out east somewhere, so we should move our main property out there. I would hope that we just keep it where it's at when the time comes. And again, I'm very, very pleased that the fire department is at least possibly in talks with disbanding, and our police department will have a new facility very soon, hopefully downtown. And if you need somebody to draw up a plan, I can do that for you. Thank you for listening.
Red Yeager, 2318 East Fifth Street. I too want to applaud the city, the mayor, and the council for the work that's being done on the police station and the fact that ultimately it's been apparently decided that it's going to be downtown rather than where it was originally proposed, which the taxpayers of Fremont rejected. I'm a little concerned, though, about some of the details that are here before you tonight as whether or not this is a bit cart before the horse. What you're planning to do tonight is approve a engineering and design contract for over $1.2 million. And the design initially was exposed to the public back in, I think, middle of November, which meant that there was design work done by AO Architects prior to that. So the location of this has been in the works for some time. And I appreciate the fact that Riverbank is here tonight to express their desire to work with the city formally and on the record. That's great. But my encouragement to you is in being fiscally responsible for the taxpayers of Fremont. And I appreciate Mr. Sukram's question with regards to, shouldn't the city own the property before you design and engineer it? Shouldn't you, if you don't own it, at least have some sort of promissory note or deal with regards to the purchase, an option to purchase or something that this council has approved first before you authorize design and engineering work? When you read the contract that's being proposed, the specific location at 8th and Main is spelled out in the contract twice. That's what this contract covers, not some alternate facility should this fail. It also designs and requires that you do survey work on that land that you don't own yet. It requires that you follow a UDC, probably which will be the new UDC, which you have not yet fully approved, but the architects will be responsible for adhering to that should it be passed before this building is complete. Because of these kinds of things, I would have thought that the resolution here for approval of this contract and for your consideration tonight would have been first and foremost, do I have the land? Do I have protection in the contract that says, if for some reason I don't obtain the land, this contract is void? Because there are due dates in here that start as early as March 2024. And they're to have design plans for you, I think, by May or June in first stage. Well, if you haven't yet owned the property between now and then, preferably now would be the ideal time, then doing the engineering work seems a bit premature. I'm all in favor of getting this done as quickly as possible. Police station rehab has been on the table of this council for years, and I couldn't be happier that it's getting done, and I assume you couldn't be either. But wouldn't it be good for the taxpayers to know that we actually own the property on which you plan to build it before you obligate them to paying $1.2 million for design work that, if that should fail, would be a waste of money unless you could find another lot in the exact specifications of the one that you anticipated that you would get that you didn't get. I don't understand why there isn't some sort of an agreement already in place for you to acquire the land, even if it isn't the official transfer of property, which would be ideal, at least some sort of legal document that says we have some sort of right or something in the resolution for the approval of this contract that gives the citizens protection that should this not go through as planned, that the citizens of Fremont aren't on the hook for even a portion of the $1.2 million, let alone the whole $1.2 million. I assume that the cancellation of contract, the termination clauses in this contract would say we wouldn't owe $1.2 million. But if they start work in March, we're going to owe them something before you contract the land. So my encouragement is get something in writing with regards to this property. You've known about it now for well before November when it was initially shown to the public. So that means a couple months before that, the other architects were working on this. So for the last 4 or 5 months, you haven't been able to strike a deal on the property. That's concerning. I would hope you would rectify that before you approve this contract. Thank you.
Anybody else here to speak on this item? Comments from the council, Councilman Vaughn.
Mr. Yerger in particular, I had the same kind of question, and to my understanding, I believe it's covered in section, it would be 8.1.3. Seems to be implied there.
Councilman Von Baron.
Regarding the design, will the design be site specific? Or is this a general design that could be applied to most sites? I mean, the basic building, I realize parking and all may vary a little bit, but the basic structural building, are we looking at something that's going to vary a great deal?
It would be similar, but not knowing the direction a piece of ground faces or anything like that, there may be changes. The initial work that we'll be doing is making sure that the actual program, the space planning, the understanding of our needs are being met. So those are some of those initial dates. And then they'll do some concepts from that. And the concepts would generally be based on the site. We have a lot of time before we're going into actual construction drawings and tying everything down. But at some point, yeah, we are designing for this piece of property.
For my simple mind. 80% applicable, 70, 90 ballpark.
If we assume that we're going to find someplace downtown, it's probably going to be pretty similar. If all of a sudden we're located at 29th and Lincoln, we've got a completely different lot. Now we've got space. We don't have to think about going up or parking underneath. We can do things completely differently. So if all of a sudden we're in some totally different place, it may affect it. With the express goal that everyone wants for this building to be downtown. I don't know what the percentage is, but whatever we're doing is going to be fairly applicable to another piece of property in this general area.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Horner.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question about the ability to terminate myself. And just on reading it, the other section that provides the city a pretty solid out, I would think, and Travis, you might be able to speak better to this, but section 9.5 simply says the owner may terminate this agreement upon not less than 7 days written notice to the architect for the owner's convenience and without clause. I think that's pretty clear that the city has the ability to walk away from this contract if they need to do it.
Any other questions for Mr. Zetterman? No other comment, I would take a motion. Councilman Vaughn.
Very proud to kick off this first round of taking care of our first responders better than we have. I would make a motion to approve.
Councilman Jensen.
And I will second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 23 is resolution 2024-024, authorizing the mayor to accept the change order request for the Bell Street Viaduct Rehabilitation Project.
Good evening, Justin Zetterman, Public Works. Pretty much just bringing this in front of you as updating on the project where we're at. Can see some of the extra work that they've been doing. So with the change order that you're seeing here are places where we found more concrete was bad, delaminated is what we call it. It's kind of separated from the steel underneath. And so they spent a lot of time on the upper deck chipping all that out. It's pretty wild to call it sounding, and the tool we used was a stick and 3 metal chains, and you could drag it across and clearly hear that panel's bad, that one's fine. And they originally did this under traffic, so they weren't able to truly determine. And when we had a nice quiet deck to ourselves, we were able to find some more places. So that's what most of this is. It is making sure that we do this and we do this right. So if that panel is cracked, and maybe it's cracked more than it was, or maybe I think it looks worse than they did when they designed it, then I added it in so that we don't put all this time and money and inconvenience into shorting things here or there. But that's the majority of what this contract is. As far as timing, we haven't discussed it face to face, but we had some setbacks. Tearing open the bridge, we've found some things that weren't done correctly from the start. That has created extra work. With the last phases of this project requiring warm weather, we just got pushed to the point where it wasn't possible to get done. So they were able to catch up quite a bit in November and December with the weather we had. And so coming out in the spring when we can start to put the membrane liner down
and put asphalt down. As long as it doesn't rain every day for 3 months, we should be ready to go and everything's looking good for being done around the 1st of June. So.
Councilman Vaughn.
Justin, I want to thank you for your extra due diligence on this. It's a vital piece of infrastructure getting in and out of town. I did have a question if you maybe have any inkling here. So our initial first run lifespan, it was put into service what year about?
Early 90s, 93, I think was the planned design date or something.
So if we got 30 years out of it, this rehabilitation process, do you have any guesstimate of how much longer that's going to buy us? Is it another 20, 30?
I would certainly hope so. A lot of this work and expense is due to the bridge rotating. And this change will try to anchor that in place better and do things that hopefully would prevent that from happening again. Is the deck that we put down going to last 30 years without being resurfaced? No, probably not. But the structure itself, I think, should still be there, and it'll just be maintaining it more like you do a normal road, hopefully in the future.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay. Comments from the public on this item? Okay. Any additional comments from council? If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Horner.
I will make the motion to approve Resolution 2024-024, authorizing the mayor to accept change order request for the Bell Street Viaduct Rehabilitation Project.
Councilman Jensen.
And I'll second that.
Cast your votes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 24 is the resolution 2024-025 for declaration of official intent to reimburse certain expenses from the proceeds of the combined utility revenue bonds yet to be issued.
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Utility General Manager. This resolution that we're bringing to City Council tonight authorizes the utilities to reimburse funds that we would have spent prior to issuing the bonds to repay for any expenses that we put out. So, and it's good for 60 days once the resolution is passed. So we can go back 60 days and reimburse ourselves using bond funds to replenish the reserves. This is not committing us to any bonds. This is just the ability that if we do issue bonds, that we can reimburse ourselves for the costs that we've spent using the bond funds. We will be looking at issuing bonds for some of these projects down the road, but we have to have this in place first in order to accomplish that.
Questions for staff on this item? Anybody here to speak on this? Okay. Additional comments from council on this? If there are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Jensen.
If there's no additional comment, I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2024-025.
Councilman Sukram.
I will second that.
Cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor. Just a note on this item, we do have an item in there where we do need the council to sign that you were present at this meeting, basically. And so if you could stick around after the meeting and do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Okay, we're moving on to item 25, ordinance 5666 to repeal and replace the sewer rate ordinance.
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Utility General Manager. This is a request to approve ordinance 5666 and approve that, replacing 5636 for the sewer rates. The sewer department consists of basically two departments. One is sewer treatment and one is sewer collection. Sewer treatment plant, we know that's the wastewater treatment plant, discharge piping of that. Sewer collection system consists of all the underground piping, about 180 miles in Fremont, 30 some lift stations, hundreds of manholes, all of those that we don't see, but they need work, they need repaired, they need inspected and those kind of things. We had our rate consultant look at our current rate, and we asked him to look at a couple things, look at our finances and look at how we're distributing the rates across all rate classes. He determined that the rate classes were still in good shape for how we rational or ratio or whatever the rate increases, but we determined that we definitely need to have a rate increase into the sewer fund. He's last year you approved a 10% increase for April 1 of 2023 and April 1 of 2024. This year, we're asking for an additional 20% for April 24, and then after that, an additional 8% in November 1 of 2024. That when you compare us to the other communities, that would put our typical residential customer who uses about 500 cubic feet of sewage, that would put their price for that fee per month at $28. According to the information we have from our rate consultant on survey data that he has from other communities, that still puts us third from the bottom of all communities that are similar to us. I think I know I included that in the staff report in your packet. So the average customer would see for the first increase about a $2.13 per month. That one's already been approved. The additional 20% would raise that up $4.62 a month. And then the final 8% that's in November would take that up an additional $2.24 per month.
Questions for Mr. Shanahan? Councilman Jensen.
Just so I'm clear of this, so this final, the proposed $28 monthly, that final will be in effect like as of November?
No, that would be the value, that would be the charge that would be in effect on April 1st, 2024.
And then
there'll be
subsequent
an
charges
additional-
play off that.
Yep, and then that would take it, if you look at that table, that takes it up to the 3024 on the bottom table. Yep.
Councilman Vaughn.
Yeah, Jeff, so am I correct in understanding that the sewer rate usage is calculated by the amount of water?
Correct.
That is used. And then I'm thinking, so what about watering the lawn?
That
Or
does
do we
not.
still have a provision in place that we take our base reading in months that we wouldn't be watering the lawn? And we-
Yeah, the way the rate ordinance is set up is for residential rates, your sewer rates are based on the water consumptions in January, February, March. That we don't typically have water in the yards. Now, commercial rates and those are different, but for the average residential customer, it's winter water usage determines your yearly sewer usage.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you for clarifying.
Councilman Von Baron.
Yeah, Jeff, just looking at your comparison between comparable cities, what makes Kearney the low-cost outlier?
Don't know.
Okay.
We are trying to figure it out. Our wastewater superintendent is going to a conference here in the next couple of weeks. And that's one of his missions, is to talk to the Kearney superintendent and find out what is going on. I do know from talking to Keith that Kearney is going through a major improvement on their system. I don't know how many millions, but tens of millions of dollars are going to be investing. So that number will likely go up, I would assume. We did look at Hastings. That's a fairly comparable city to us, and their rates matched with what, is typically about what we're proposing. And we know Grand Island's putting in a significant amount of infrastructure in there, so theirs will likely go up also.
Okay.
But yeah, Kearney's is incredibly low.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation.
And same on the opposite end, Omaha's is extremely high.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions from council at this point? Okay. Comments from the public on this item?
Yes, Larry Marvin, 1945 Morningside Road. I'm like to keep up with the Joneses so that we don't get behind, but I've not heard any comment about that we're selling methane gas. And that should lower our rates too, I would think. And I don't hear any reports of that benefit that we have. We just got to keep up with Kearney or ahead of Kearney or something, but if we're charging these rates, if we don't use the money, we should put it on interest and hold it back. But I never hear on the methane gas how much money we make.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. Comments from council? Be to introduce and hold first reading. Councilman Vaughn,
Motion to approve and hold first reading of ordinance 5666.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Now have first reading.
An ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, amending rates, minimum charges, and surcharges for the use of the municipal sanitary system and repealing ordinance number 5636 and all other ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing when the rates, customer charges, and surcharges are effective, and providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect on first reading.
Okay, we'll now move on to item 27 and this, or sorry, 26. This has the request from staff to continue to the February 27th meeting. Councilman Jensen,
I will make that motion to continue.
Councilman Sukram,
I'll second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Councilman Sukram,
Second.
cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.